If you're just like me, you're probably wondering, how can I change my life as quickly as possible without having to make any drastic changes? In today's video, I'm going to share about 10 to 12 major ways that I've changed my life just by implementing simple habits that I can apply on a day-to-day basis, and how you can change your life in that exact same way and how they've helped me. So, first and foremost, every single thing that I'm going to talk about today is pretty easy, and they're things that I've done myself, and they're not super duper hard. They're really straightforward, and you can really make the life that you want for yourself as far as discipline, etc., by implementing these small changes. So, the first major change that I've implemented is waking up early. And when I say waking up early, I mean waking up at 5 a.m. Now, why do I wake up at 5 a.m.? I find that honestly, I am significantly more efficient. I get a lot more work done, and I'm a lot more creative without distraction at 5 in the morning. I used to be a guy that was like everybody else, stay up till late, do whatever I needed to at nighttime, but I actually find that staying up late, I was not as productive because there are a lot more distractions going on at nighttime. You get invited out with your friends, there's activities going on, and honestly, everybody thinks that staying up late has them be more creative. So you actually are around a lot more people versus being disciplined and just waking up in the morning to get free things done for yourself without any sort of distraction. So at like 5 a.m. wake up time, it gives me the space to think clearly, take time for myself, meditate, get to work earlier, and really just take time for myself without any distraction. So the first thing you can do to implement is make sure you start waking up early. The next thing that's really been helpful to really help me on my journey of transformation has been meditation. Meditation is part of that 5 a.m. wake up. Generally, as soon as I wake up in the morning, I meditate immediately. Why is that, you may ask? Because meditation is important because it sets the intention for the day and the goals that you want to have for yourself. You know, a fresh mind is a free mind. So when you wake up in the morning, you have all these different thoughts. It's great to just have a second to yourself, raw, fresh, off of the sleep, and set intentions for yourself. So if you want to be positive, you want to show more gratitude, you want to be more thankful, you want to take that time before you start getting hit with the noise of the day, work, and anything else to come in and say, hey, look, this is my time for myself. Let me clearly in my head outline exactly how the day goes. You know what they say, the tongue is powerful and your mind's powerful. If you start the day off with gratitude or positivity or just with some type of goal in mind, you're more likely to achieve it because it stays on the back of your mind all day, as opposed to, thinking about this in the middle of the day after you've already got a bunch of emails, you've gotten the calls, maybe you got in an argument with your girl or whatever the heck may have happened to upset your rhythm and flow. Starting with that meditation allows you to come in fresh mind and start the day off with clear intention of how you want to go and navigate through the day. That even includes like having an uplifting mood. I feel like the more positive you are in the beginning of the day, the better you are in the rest of the day. And then another thing on the meditation piece is it really helps with emotional, mental, and just general stress control. I feel like through nice breathing and just the practice of being self-aware, you are able to self-analyze and look at it and say, hey, look, how can I get better in this way? So that meditation just gives you that space before everyone else wakes up and before you get hit with the noise of the day to say, hey, look, I need to be in tune with myself in this way. And this is exactly how I want to be received and how I want to give out energy into the world. The next thing that I've done, and I hope everyone does this, is reading in the morning and reading at night. It doesn't have to be too long. It could be like 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night. But I find that reading, it really is an exercise that helps your brain get stronger and you retain more information and just have a more clear-headed and powerful mind. There's something to be said about the ability to focus and read words on a paper. Now, if you're a person that likes to read on your phone, I generally recommend and say, hey, look, maybe you should try and read a physical book. I think that reading has been really foundational in terms of just allowing me to, one, focus on my task at hand, but two, also kind of detox from the screen time that I spend on a computer or on a phone or an iPad while I'm doing work. It allows me on the same end too to learn new things. Remember, your brain's a muscle. You can only work that muscle out by reading and doing activities to make yourself smarter and smarter and smarter. You want to be involved in things that are generally more edifying for your mind. I do want to reading in. It really helps with discipline, vocabulary, your pronunciation, your speaking, and just your general levels of communication. Outside of the things that reading foundationally does for you, there are tons of different topics that you can read. You learn a lot more. I find that you have more facts for conversations. You're a lot smarter. I think that from reading books, just in general, from my experience, I've been a much better conversationalist because I feel I can recount on so many more memories from reading and just things that I've picked up in books versus me just kind of traversing the day and just kind of going through life experience. I feel like reading is a cheat code because you can learn things, you can learn about specific subject matters, and in the same end, make yourself smarter and just become a better conversationalist in person overall. Reading just in general, on a last note, it's just great to replace scrolling because, like I said, we spend so much time on the phone and our attention spans are getting so much shorter, but being intentional about saying, hey, look, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to be still, and I'm going to be the smartest version of myself to get to my end goal is really the ultimate goal at the end of the day. The next thing that I really want to focus on, or that has really made a big change for me, is implementing a daily schedule. Now, when I say implementing a daily schedule, I mean like a rigorous schedule, not just waking up at 5 a.m., but saying, hey, look, at 5 a.m. I wake up, and from 5 to 6, I work on these things. From 7 to 1, I work on these things. And I maintain a very strict schedule so that way my days are very predictable. Steve Jobs used to always say that your brain can only process a certain number of cognitive functions a day. And if you limit the number of cognitive functions you have to think about, that's when your brain can get smarter and retain more information. So for me, what I've really seen a lot of success with is saying like, hey, look, how can I simplify the tasks that I'm doing throughout the day and really just focus on the few tasks that I know so that way that my day is predictable. So I know, hey, look, every morning from 5 to 6 a.m., this is Jordan time. I know at the end of the day, I'm going to shut my phone off an hour before going to bed and I'm going to read. I'm going to do these things, make sure I'm not on the screen time. I know from this hour to this hour, I'm going to work out. And I try and simplify my day as much as possible because, there's also a study that I read recently that said people who have no structure are more likely to be depressed because they just kind of go throughout their day flowing without any aim or direction, and that can really lead you to confusion and depression. I feel like having a structure can kind of counteract that. Even if it isn't as strict as something like me where I'm saying, hey, from 6:15 to 6:30 I'm meditating and 6:30 to 6:45 I'm making a coffee, etc. Having some type of general structure where hey, look, from these hours to these hours I'm going to work, these hours to these hours I'm going to set time to work out, these hours to these hours I'm going to take breaks, etc. It really helps you organize your day and just provide structure. Routines also, they say, help with decision fatigue, and like I said, make your mind a lot smarter so that way you can make less decisions throughout the day. You want to save your brain energy for the tasks where you actually have to think and the things that matter the most, not so much the tasks that don't matter and really require a lot of thinking on simple things like deciding whether or not you want to go to the gym or not, or what you want for breakfast. um I will say also too, on the same end with scheduling, it really keeps you accountable. I think that having a schedule, you're more likely to be accountable because you can check on like what you need as far as work. You can check and make sure you're handling certain tasks by a certain time. You can check and make sure you're getting a lot of things done without just going aimlessly. I find when you go aimlessly, you look up around and you get a lot of things done, but maybe not in the direction that you need to. All motion is not good motion. You want to make sure you're going towards the proper direction, not just running in place and getting tired. Um, the next thing, the last thing too, having a schedule provides balance also too. Um, I think this is the most important because it aids into some of the other topics that I talk about, but having that schedule allows you to make time for and see exactly what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. It's like if you feel like having the gym is important to you, making sure that you're on a schedule so that way you have like a good gym routine or good time set out for the gym is really important. Making sure you have that same scheduling for doing levels of work or spending time for yourself, whatever. It just kind of gives you a clear wherewithal so you know exactly what you're doing on a day, and you can look back and say, hey, look, I accomplished all of these things from goals, and making sure you're getting things done at the end of the day. Biggest thing that I've implemented, and there are tons of apps that can help you with this, is limiting screen time. I found myself weeks ago really just spending like 8 to 9, sometimes even 10 hours a day just on the phone, Instagram, doom scrolling, TikTok, just looking at things that really didn't help me or my productivity. Limiting my screen time has been a huge thing. I've implemented this app called ScreenZen on my phone, which limits the amount of time I can spend on each social media app. Then I have a 30-second buffer before I can use it, and I can only click it a certain number of times a day, and it'll shut off after a certain amount of time. Limiting the screen time has really helped me and forced me to pick up other activities and hobbies in terms of being productive. Instead of picking up Instagram, I'm now picking up a book, or I'm maybe doing some more work, or I'm doing something that's going to edify my mind rather than um, falling into the habit of just constantly picking up my phone because there's nothing else going on. Limiting that screen time has really helped me be focused. It's helped me be present. It's helped me think a lot more. And kind of going back to the meditation, it's really helped me think to myself a lot more than I would have if I would be focused on my phone 24/7. And then on the same end, too, people talk a lot about how screen time is linked towards anxiety. Limiting that screen time obviously limits that because you're no longer so anxious looking for notifications, really living on the social media comments waves, whatever. You're more so focused on yourself and you're being present in your actual world, which is making you significantly less anxious, more productive, and just a better human being overall. So the next thing that I've implemented that has really been helpful for me is journaling daily. I also am in therapy and I have a mentor. I realize that not everyone has the opportunity to have a mentor or therapy themselves, but journaling daily has been a huge weight and stress reliever for myself. It's helped me relieve anxiety, it's helped me relieve stress, and it's just a very safe outlet for me to be real with myself and have conversations about how I'm feeling, recollect how the day is going, retain more information in memory because I can look back and say, hey, look, I did this today. Talk about how I feel raw and unfiltered, and really just have a safe place for my mind to kind of detox, detach, and just kind of be honest with myself. I feel like a big portion of our success overall in general is our mental health. And when you're not able to, I guess, like have a safe outlet through like a mentor or a therapist or someone to guide you with things, having a safe place to at least write things down where you can just be raw and unfiltered and just put something on a page really relieves a lot of stress. I think that there are studies that have been done, and don't quote me if I'm wrong, that suggest that writing or talking about things, whether it be a visual journal or even an audio journal you keep on the phone, relieve a whole level of stress because you're not complaining, you're just getting it off your chest. And sometimes that's all you really need to feel better, you know? Um, on the same end too, it kind of goes back to what we were saying about tracking your goals, process, emotions. I think that having a continuous journal or place where you can look back and see how you're feeling on certain things allows you to hold yourself accountable and say, hey, look, like, I felt like this one way, but this week I'm feeling so much better. And just having that safe place to be raw and unfiltered really helps with that whole entire process. And I say this on the same end, I think that I know that not everyone has the opportunity to be or go to therapy or have a mentor, but really self-reflection is one of the biggest things that helps you grow. I think that journaling, obviously you get this too, but having someone that you can bounce off ideas with or reflect with the mind just allows you to grow a bit better, because I find that through processing your own emotions or the things that you experience, you're able to look back and self-analyze and say, I can be better in this way, or I could have learned from this circumstance in this way, or maybe the way in which I handled or navigated a situation, wasn't the most productive. But, going back to those journals and having the mentor or the therapist allows you to take a step back and say, hey, look, like, this is how I experienced this thing. I can look back, process those emotions, and then kind of go forward. Remember, we're always in a process of improving ourselves. And in order to do that, you sometimes have to do the homework, and that starts with you. Now, the next change that I've made, and this is pretty obvious, but it is consistent daily workouts. I talk a lot about mental health. Working out is great for your physical health. The physical and mental relate back to one another, but having a space and outlet where you can just kind of turn your brain off and really focus on your muscles and just focus on your general health make you feel better. Generally, when you're in shape, you feel a lot more confident within yourself, which also goes back into the physical health piece as well. But, just being in a space where you can detach, keep your heart running, keep your muscles going. Like I said, your brain's a muscle, your body's a muscle. Getting your wires fired up to have that energy, that's what really gets you going as an individual, and it helps you clear your mind. Not only is it a space for your just health to go up, because like I said, health is wealth, but you also get a space to clear your mind and take off of work. It's really important to get off of the hamster wheel. We all work hard, but hard work doesn't matter if your health is bad and you're not taking good care of yourself. Sometimes too, I really encourage everybody to find like a gym class or session or something that will hold you accountable too. Having something like Muay Thai or martial arts, or doing classes helps you socially, helps you meet more people, but two, also keeps you accountable as well. Gets you a new interest group, makes you have new friends. And you know what they say, the quality of life is determined by the people around you and the things that you're learning and investing yourself in. So put yourself in a gym class or something like that to get yourself up there and keep your body flowing, but also your brain flowing, get your social energy going, and really just make yourself a better person. Number 8 on the list is being intentional with personal time. I'll say for me, this is a big thing I struggle with. And what I mean by being intentional by personal time is making time for yourself to do the things, like I said, meditate or work out or just take breaks. I think sometimes it's really easy for us to get caught in this like 8-hour workday or if you're an entrepreneur, you're working 24/7. But sometimes it's okay to just go for a walk for 15 minutes. Unplug from the emails. Maybe you want to throw on a video game for 30 minutes. Go ahead and do that. Distract yourself. You don't always need to be on the hamster wheel. So you got to make sure you take time for yourself to do activities that make you happy. And they don't always have to be for a monetary goal. It's like if you like to cook, make sure you spend that time cooking. Invest in your cooking. Maybe take a cooking class. Do things for yourself that make you feel better and make you feel more confident and just better as a leader. I feel like overall, having fun and rest and those things make you more confident, but they also bring your just quality of life up because at the end of the day, like you're really just trying to have fun and enjoy this planet and your life for what it is. You only got one life, so you might as well enjoy it. I think that the whole thing, and I say that on the same end with this cooking and Muay Thai stuff, you want to try and avoid the trap of turning everything into a business because whereas, I know we all like to make money, sometimes it's fun to be able to disconnect for the world and do things without pressure to be good or make money or hit a quota or hit some status. You know what I mean? You got to make sure you enjoying and doing things for yourself at the end of the day because you are the only person that's going to have to sit and deal with it at the end of the day. You only got one life, so make sure you take care of it. The second to last thing that I'll mention for my top 10, and this is one of the most important things, is growing in your faith or spiritual journey. Now, I'm not connecting it to any particular religion. It doesn't matter what you believe. But having some type of belief in some type of higher power, whether it be stars, moons, Buddhism, Christianity, whatever you decide to do, Muslim, whatever, it's the millions of different things you can believe in. Having some type of upfront faith has been super duper important to me and my focus. I'm a believer in God, and I feel like just the things that I've been learning in my life and just the principles that I've learned through my religious practice, they've really helped me guide and just maintain a certain level of like focus and just wherewithal to go throughout the day. I stay positive. I understand the power of the tongue. I try and speak positivity on my life. I'm patient with myself, and those are all things that I have through religion. I think sometimes we all need some type of guiding force or factor in the back of our mind to just hold us accountable and keep our spirits high. Regardless of religion, I think that having some type of spiritual guidance really just helps us pace in our journey of direction and figure out who we are. Because at the end of the day, we're all looking for answers and we all want to figure out like the path that whoever we believe in has set for us and where we can go in life. I say this lastly also too, I think that having a spiritual piece also really helps guide your directions because no matter what religion you believe in, we all kind of generally believe in the same foundations of what we want in life, and that's generally being a good person and caring after one another. I feel like having some type of spiritual backing just helps you make good decisions and helps you be the best person possible. And by being in turn the best person possible, you're happier, you make more friends, and guess what? It increases your quality of life. Last but not least, on my top 10, and maybe I'll give you all two bonus ones afterwards, and this is honestly the most important, but it's making sure you get sleep. I know that sounds easy and cliche, but really, I continue to say health is wealth. If you're not sleeping well, you won't be producing well. You can't be as creative. You cannot be as efficient. You'll be tired throughout the day, and you're not able to enjoy life as much when you're tired. So make sure you get ample amounts of sleep. If you can get 8 hours of sleep a day, you should prioritize that. It's no reason why some of the richest people on the planet all say the same thing. You should definitely be making sure you prioritize your health because at the end of the day, not sleeping only makes other problems later. Alzheimer's, dementia, strokes, etc. You want to make sure you get on top of that because sleep is the real fuel that you need to power your brain, your body, and your mind. I will say also too, for me, getting good sleep, I used to be this guy that would sleep until sleep just a few hours a day, and I thought I was being productive, but I felt like I received burnout really fast. But ever since I really started prioritizing sleeping at an earlier time, getting 8 hours, I feel more refreshed, more rejuvenated, and I feel like I have significantly more energy to get tasks done throughout the day, whereas I usually wouldn't prior. The last two things that I'll talk about are things that you can just kind of keep in mind, but there aren't so much principles as far as like change. The first thing I'm going to say is making sure your environment is decluttered and clean. Your mind is a reflection of the things around you. If you notice, my room is pretty clean right now. It's a little messy, but keeping your space clean helps your mind be clean. I feel like for me myself, I'm very easily distracted. So if I'm in an environment where I can be really clean, fresh, and clear-headed, I prefer that almost always. So you want to make sure your environment is like really clean, decluttered, and you're in a space where you're like happy to work in because everything is neat and organized, and you're not distracted like I usually will be. The last thing I'll say, and this is something that you guys can take with a grain of salt, but it is really analyzing the circle of people around you and reducing those people to people who are just along your goals. I think that really nobody talks about having like a circle of accountability and people who are on the same wavelength as you. But if you can really introduce yourself or be in circles where people are doing just as good as you. They motivate you, they're teaching you things. Just kind of going back to the decision about a mentor, just around people who are like minded like you with the same goals, you'll typically make sure you accomplish those things because you guys will hold each other accountable and you guys can learn from different things. That's one thing I've said the most about being in New York City. I meet so many amazing, smart individuals who know all different types of things. And because I've been around them, I've been a better leader. They recommend books to me. We teach each other different things. We learn things when we're with one another. It's honestly a great overall investment in just like the quality of my life. And really, you want people around you that are on the same page as you as you're going through changes because you want people that encourage you and uplift you at the end of the day. So, all these 12 changes, you can implement them today. They're not too hard. They're not super duper unrealistic goals like a 75 hard. Our goal when you're making these changes is to implement one thing at a time. If you can, try one or two things and see how it goes over a couple of weeks and maybe introduce all of them over a certain amount of time. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm looking forward to seeing how y'all change. If there's anything I missed or you feel like you guys have implemented in your life to make yourself have different changes, I'd love to hear them. Otherwise, man, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're on Twitch every day where we talk about these types of conversations at Jordan Bentley. So hope to see you guys there. Peace.